Guten Morgen. Yes, know your client is the first thing that Paul puts up and says, this is important. I would say yes, know your client is very important. And we come to this point right away. But I think it's at least as much important to know ourselves. Because everything, what we think, how we are, what our risk tolerance is, we will bring in this process, whether we want it or not, whether you see it or feel it or not. So we are the instrument when it comes to financial advice and, of course, when it comes to financial coaching. And I think it's wonderful when we help our clients to know themselves better. It doesn't help when you as an advisor know your client. He or she needs to know himself to be a partner in this game. In this morning we saw there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And it needs at least two people in this game to manage all these challenges in the planning, in not being secure what is tomorrow. And also, when we are dealing with star managers. I was listening here in the corner, and I started 20 years ago as a finance coach. I'm a psychologist from my background, and I decided to work with two parts of the industry. Those who decide on their own, portfolio managers, traders, and some entrepreneurs and end clients. And I start to work with advisors. And when I'm working with portfolio managers like him, I see it's a system. It's not one person doing right or wrong. We are all part of this system. We are looking for these people. We admire them. We want to be like them. And as long as they do good, everybody is fine. And when they start to fail, everybody is looking in a different direction and not talking about what's happening. That's not so easy. So I think we are all part of this. And because we are all part of this, it's wonderful. We can start with ourselves. We can start with the clients that we are working with, or with the media or the audience that we have, to go step by step a little bit further and get better in financial decision making. We all are not stars. We all fail. But there are some psychological aspects I want to add to, and hopefully everybody takes one or two things with you after my presentation. We are focusing on financial risk tolerance today, frame the client's expectations, align motivations, and improve commercial outcomes. As Paul said, when we are working together and we are framing the client's expectations with the client together in a good manner, we can have a good business. And I will offer you a little bit of methodology, yes, for facilitating consciously good financial decision making. Maybe for yourself as well. Maybe for you and your clients. Okay, we had that already, so I just will want to have a look at the beginning with you. This is what our clients, your clients, are faced a whole year long. Maybe you talk to your clients once or twice a year, or maybe 3 times. But meanwhile, they are confronted with all that stuff all the day, in the media, in TV, whatever, on the internet. And this doesn't help. But your clients sometimes don't know that this doesn't add value to their decision-making process. Some clients think they need to know what's going on. And what I like to bring this afternoon are some ideas how you and your clients can change the focus. Don't bring the light to the market, bring the light to the decision-making process, to you and your clients yourself. So, I am coming from Germany, as I told you before. What is the starting point for us in German-speaking countries with our clients? Well, Germans people in Germany, Austria, and Swiss, as far as I know, don't want to buy shares. That's a trap. Because shares is not what they really want, but they want something. And I, as a coach, I'd like to invite you not to look at what people don't want and what are their weaknesses, but what are their strengths and what do they want to achieve. Of course, they all want control, no stress, and good financial decisions. Well, it's obvious, but most of the time in Germany we think about how can we educate people a little bit more to understand the markets, shares, stock market, and so on, to bring them to the market. But I think they want, when we take first different step, not talking about shares, capital markets, and so on, but about good decision making. I will bring 3 parts in my presentation to you. Evaluation of the process of financial decision making and the role of intuition. A little bit of psychology and neuroscience. Key factors of financial risk tolerance and risk perception. This is, by the way, something that I also offer to end clients when I do presentations for them, and I like it. You can take it from me, from the presentation, if you want. And the third part, that's the part when I really give you all the things together and check it out and have a little conversation together in groups of 3 and try out what I delivered. Measuring risk tolerance on a tailored basis and the benefits of looking through the eyes of the client at the suitable risk and portfolios. So I really invite you to step back, to step to your client as a partner I hide. Think of him or her as a person who has done a lot of financial decisions in his life or her life, relevant financial decisions without you. And they still live, they have wealth, and they come to you, so they have resources. Here is the client, or here we are. First question, rational or emotional? How do your clients decide? Some answers? Emotional? Pardon? Both? Rational and emotional? Hopefully. Some other ideas? Okay, you're both false. There is something missing. It's ratio, intuition, and emotion. And this is an important difference. So, do you have an idea what's meant by all 3? Ratio, intuition, and emotions.
Is the ratio of that relativity?
No, it's the ratio, rational mind.
Oh, rational, okay.
And is intuition heuristic?
Yeah, it's some aspect is heuristic. Yeah. What's the difference between intuition and emotion?
Intuition can be learned.
Intuition can be learned.
Past experience.
Pardon?
Is it from past experience? Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah. Intuition and past experience. What's the difference to emotions?
Well, that's how they feel, isn't it?
Is it a case of intuition is your head telling you to do something, and emotion is what you really want to do in your heart?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're getting closer.
Emotions is just feeling.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But intuition, most people say to intuition, what do they say? Gut feeling. So
intuition is your instinct.
yeah, it's an instinct. Yes.
We're talking more about system 1, system 2.
Yeah. I would like to add a third part. I think system 1 and system 2, I know this concept, but what I see when I'm working with people, analyzing decision-making process, we have three parts. This is our rational thinking, what we can process, the information that we can process consciously. And this is very few. We can only process very few informations at one time. This is very important for you. If you think this morning, we had so many information. Nobody in the room can process all these informations consciously. So we need the second part, so to say, in our brain, and this is intuition. Intuition comes from our unconscious. The rational thinking can only process very few informations. Unconsciously, we can process endlessly information. When we come in a room like this, our system processes millions of information bits and pieces to find our way through the room, a new room where we haven't been before. And this is possible. And this is not at all, at the beginning, emotional. Yes, we can add, we feel well in the room, we like the room, we don't like the room. But mainly what I wanted to say is that we and our clients process so many informations unconsciously, and this is a reservoir what we can use to bring out relevant information for decision making. But this is linked to good conscious-driven information, information that you give your client on a paper sheet, on a report, and on good questions. There are questions that are mainly driving our rational thinking. How old are you? I don't need an intuition about that. Yeah, I know it. I may like it or don't like it, but I know it. So this is rational thinking. Yeah. But how many people in the room are beneath 40 years old? Okay, you could count, but I think in a second you have an idea. You look around and you say, maybe 10%. Yeah? And this, most of the time, is a quite good answer, because our unconscious mind is so productive and so smart. Not in every situation. We need to know when to use it and when we don't should use it. And emotions is when, for example, a team of traders I was working with 18 years ago, they were trading the English pound and they did wrong. And 5 years later, they were still angry about themselves. And when they started to talk about the English pound, they were not happy. And their intuition wasn't working because emotions were too much in the room. So to manage emotions is important, but not to the degree that we don't have any emotions. When you think of this morning, when we're listening to the planning and the retirement planning, at the end of your presentation, I thought, my God, it's so important that we ask our clients, what is your dream at the beginning? Because we need our emotions for motivation. Can you imagine a client being here, listening to us, all that bits and pieces? Can you imagine why they don't want to go to a financial advisor, know all these things, these complicated, difficult things, and the outcome is uncertain? Why should they come to us? So if we ask them, and this is, by the way, a wonderful study that I came across a few weeks before, when you try to help people to save more, you can do it in two ways. And the study said we had one group of people, we gave them a financial education session, yeah, to help them to understand about savings. And the other group, They gave them a financial psychology session. What did they mean? They were talking with the clients, with these people in the second group, about their emotions, their values, and their wishes. And they linked the information about saving to their values. The result, after this 1 hour session, people in both groups were more motivated and they wanted to save more. They told them. The one group with the pure financial education, 3 months later, they saved more than 20% more than before. Good result, isn't it? 20%, if they stick with it, wonderful. The other group, with the financial psychology session, saved 73% more. 3 times more. Nothing else. No intervention meanwhile. Just link this process to your values. If the dreams come at the last moments in life, that's not where we are living for. We should now live our dreams. Okay? And you are the helpers for your clients to live their dreams, not in 20 years or in 50 years from now on. Okay, so these 3 components are important for our decision making. Now the question is, how are your client? And now we need the papers. Decide. I would like to invite you to fill in this paper. Maybe you can help him. Yeah. What do you think? What is the portion of rational thinking, intuition, and emotions when you think of your clients? How many percentage is the combination? Okay, have a look at your neighbor. Do you have the same guess, different? Okay, some numbers. Maybe each table, one person. Maybe from you, one person, the numbers that you've written down?
We've got variety for
Yeah, no problem. We all have variety in the room.
60% in the intuition bit to 70% in emotion. What have we got over there?
Okay.
65 intuition. So it's
Mixed.
interesting that very little goes on the rational side.
Ah, okay. You? What was one of yours? Maybe.
So we have very little on ratio, 10%, 60-30 split between intuition and emotions, and John was fairly evenly all the way across.
What was your numbers?
35 ratio and then 35 intuition, 30 emotion.
Okay. Everybody has a different guess. You? Anybody?
We all were, I think, a little bit more on the rational side. So I was 20, 30, 50. 40, 40, and then we have a 10, 10, 80.
Okay. So obviously we don't have a research about that, how exactly your clients are working.
But isn't it also the case that I certainly recall from when I was thinking about clients that they would give every impression that they're making a rational decision, that they're doing a sensible thing. Whereas, in truth, what they've probably done is something more intuitive or emotional.
Yeah, could be.
Which they now want to present to me as a sound, proper decision.
This is a typical process of portfolio managers. Yeah. And when we are doing one-to-one in the coaching, they definitely are talking with me about the intuition and the emotions. And they say the rational part I need for my clients. They want to have a paper where I write down why I did this decision, and I need to explain it rationally, but I never take a decision only rationally. Okay, let's have a look. What is the unfavorable financial decision? Of course, what we don't want is that our emotions take over. Yeah? when it comes to financial decision making, this seldomly is the best way. But sometimes it happens. Yeah? And especially when star managers crash, or when we have a struggle with our husband, or you can imagine thousands of situations. And this is something we have to manage for our own, or with an advisor or a coach, because long-term decisions are not made by emotions. Yeah? We can definitely do better. The hope for financial decision when I'm talking to professionals and also with advisors is this one. I want to take a decision, if it is possible, almost 100% with my conscious mind. And this is overconfidence, of course. The ideal and wise financial decision, I call it wise because it's proven. The neuroscience knows a lot about our brain meanwhile. In the last 10, 15 years, we got good evidence to what I show you now. Emotions are a part, ratio, the conscious mind is the smallest part. And this is nicely made. I think it's smaller in a realistic situation. And this is the biggest part of decision making, of all of us. Also the people who think they are rational. Yes, because ratio and intuition are in the same area, but in a different process. Rational decision, rational thinking is what I can observe and tell and say. Intuition, as we all know, is suddenly there. I know it's right, but I can't explain it. When I start to explain, it gets a bit foggy. Yeah? But it's from the information. Paul mentioned heuristics. It's an information process in our brain, in our unconscious brain. I would sometimes say our conscious brain has a search for patterns. Yeah? And when we see something outside and listen to somebody, our brain is constantly working and looking for patterns that are similar. Yeah? Patterns that we understand. Patterns that give us evidence. Yeah? And this is a wonderful work that's done by our brain without us doing a lot. It's for free. But in the Western countries, I think this is similar in UK. I can tell you from Germany, of course, we are not taught and we are not allowed to speak about intuition normally in a business area. I would like to invite you to do that more, because it's a huge resource that we have. And of course, we need to learn a little bit about how to do it. Yeah? And by the way, it's not only for women. It's not only for women. Also men have a wonderful intuitive resource. And you use it, by the way, all the day. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in here. So it's essential for success of my clients and me. So how to use it, we will have a look in the next part of my presentation. So if we think of ratio, intuition, and emotions, the question is, how can we address these three parts when we are talking with our clients about financial decision-making, risk, and risk tolerance?